Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Balanced Boss Mom podcast. I'm your host, Erika, and today we are going to hold a space for real conversations about motherhood, healing, and creating balance without burning out. Before we begin, I want to gently share a reminder with you guys that today's episode touches on topics like addiction, mental health, and healing through difficult seasons. The conversation is to be held with care and compassion. So at if any point, if this conversation is a little bit too much or it makes you cry or anything, please take a moment to take a pause or a break during this episode. And today's episode is deeply a human, deeply meaningful, and we're going to talk about what is truly meaningful to heal. It's something that I've been very, very passionate about in regards to healing. And I am so excited to have Mandy Alexis join, who is a powerful journey through addiction. Why am I having trouble with that today? Nervous system breakdown and profound self-discovery has shaped the world she discovered today and the wisdom that she shared quietly. So again, without further ado, I'm introducing Mandy. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Hey, I know we've been having conversations, my friend. So I want you to start sharing off a little bit about your story. And even during the incredible hard seasons of your lives, I'm deeply, for myself, and I'm sure the listeners are deeply curious about your journeys. One of the questions I like to start off with for 2026, I've been starting off with every conversation, is the word of the year. So I'm going to start off with that. What is your word of the year for 2026?
Oh boy, do I have a word for 2026?
I got you stumbled, huh?
There's so many. I think after everything that I've been through, these last little bit, really being strong in boundaries. Yeah, I had the nervous system, I had a nervous system breakdown because I didn't have strong enough boundaries where I was working and how much I was handling. And yeah, I just that whole part of my life, kind of just got away from me, and I didn't set strong enough boundaries to take care of myself. And I got, quite ill from it afterwards, as well as literally just a crazy breakdown. So I think, holding strong in your boundaries to make sure that you're living a balanced life,
I like that word of the year. I've been telling people my word of the year is alignment. So anything that is aligned in a positive way for me for 2026, I am definitely doing. Anything that's not aligned for 2026, I'm telling people, no, you
Yeah.
gotta go. You can't keep doing it to me anymore. And so what sparked the curiosity for you in regards to sharing your story?
Basically just how much knowledge I gained around the human experience and how we operate on so many different layers and levels, right? Your mind, your body, your heart, your soul, your nervous system, your gut health, everything is so important to living a more balanced, a more aligned, a more connected life. And going through what I went through over the years, I wanted to know how I worked, and what I could do to feel better, live better. And yeah, so really just understanding the being human, right? After everything I went through. And
Yeah, I know that's kind of tough because, when you're going through something as difficult as addiction, I know I have a few family members that are going through addiction, and you try to help them as much as you can. And then when they don't want to have the help, it's kind of hard to kind of just say, you know what, I have to take a step back myself. And so what did you, looking back now, what do you think your younger self was really searching for?
So I think now that I know what I know, I would say a couple things. One would have been a form of escape. There was some traumatic things around my family and my childhood. And my father was an alcoholic, and sometimes he was a fun one, and sometimes he was a really angry one. And, just looking for a way to not feel certain things I was feeling, or not have to think about certain things that were happening around me. using drugs
Mm-hmm.
would literally take me to like a different reality. And, at the beginning, it felt like a lot of fun and like we were experimenting and all that kind of stuff. And then when I got older, because I actually, like, the very first time I tried marijuana, I was 12. And so that manifested quickly into, about 14 mushrooms, 15 ecstasy, acid, and alcohol was involved in all of these. And then by 19, it was cocaine. And then I was addicted to cocaine for 16 years. So, like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, just trying to mask some things, hide from some things, create a different experience that for me, like, when I was feeling down, it was like, okay, well, let's go party.
Mm-hmm.
When you're celebrating, let's go party. Like, like always a reason kind of thing. And I think knowing what I know, like about, trauma and like everything I could see in that I was using it as a form of escape without even really realizing it at the time, like.
Mm-hmm. I understand. And it's like now, like I said, I have some family members that probably are dealing with addiction or dealing with something like, trauma can really make or break a lot of different things mentally. And so I know recovery is often talked about as like stopping, but your story shows it's so much deeper than that. When did you realize that sobriety, what is wrong with my words today? Sobriety alone wasn't enough.
um I noticed like because it wasn't going to. I had to deal with the underlining things, and I kind of realized this while I was going through it. Like, it took me a few tries to actually like get away from the addiction, like I'd say I could do it and then I'd fall
Mhm.
back in and all this kind of stuff. And it wasn't until I really started doing a deeper dive into healing is when I was like, okay, like I need to get to the root of the problem. I need to release, like, I have to understand my brain and like what's I'm holding on to energetically. And, I knew that if I really wanted to live this life that I could like feel inside, I was going to have to do the healing work. It wasn't, if I just stopped, I'd still be stuck in all of that pain and trauma and unresolved emotions. So to fully move into this new version that I wanted, I had to, look at some dark, dark places within.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are going to love listening to this podcast and hearing your story because if this podcast does help somebody, I feel like we have done our job in reference to this. And you spend some time living in different countries. So during that season of going to these different countries, how did that space end up having like a slow impact for
Well,
you?
like for me, I was very grateful that I had this opportunity during, like, it was kind of like my last straw of like, hey, I need to freaking break this. And I had a friend living in Costa Rica and I stayed with her for 2 months. So I was really able to separate my world that I had known for so long and get
Mhm.
into, new people, new environment, being in nature all the time, being so active, like even just being like on the beach or in the ocean, it's very therapeutic, right? So
Mhm.
I was very, very grateful to be able to move into that space, to be able to really take time to heal and be away from everything that had dragged me into that life in the first place. So I know it's not everyone can do it that way, but I do strongly believe that, a change of environment is so important when you're trying to live a life that is unlike what you're living in the moment.
Mhm. And I know, I bet Costa Rica is gorgeous. I need to make a trip there. Um, can you explain what a nervous system breakdown looks like, especially from someone like for me? I don't know what a nervous system breakdown
Yeah.
is. So, can you explain to me and to the other listeners what a nervous
Yeah,
breakdown
so
is?
I had ended up in Nicaragua and I was managing this hotel, and um it just got too much. I was working, like I was doing with a friend at first, and then she left, and I
Mhm.
was basically working 24/7. I was living on site for a chunk of it. And I it was like I
Mhm.
could never rest. So it was like go, 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 not enough sleep, always a problem to solve.
Okay.
And it just shot my system. Like it was like I was basically running on like caffeine and adrenaline, like, and then finally it just was, and I could feel my body like shutting down. Like I couldn't feel right in my head. Like I was constantly almost like shaking, like like not physically, but I could feel it inside. And finally, when I was able to let go of that job and situation, my body, like I got sick. Like I was sick for, I think, 5 weeks after that. It was like, finally I could
Mhm.
like relax and whatever, but it took months and months and months of me trying to re-regulate my nervous system because it was so used to being in survival mode and like fight mode basically, and like you're not supposed to live that way, but yeah, like my body shut down. Like I like everything was unregulated, and like I said, like it almost felt like I was on a vibration, and I was very sensitive to everything. Like it was oof, I don't even know. Like it was a very, very awakening time for me to realize like, wow, like I gotten over and through this addiction and I was feeling really good. And then I got myself into
Mhm.
this situation and in a whole other way destroyed myself. Like, I was like, what am I doing? Like,
Mhm.
yeah.
No. And that's why I'm very curious about the nervous system, because it's so many different women that are listening that are probably like, okay, I get what she's saying, and some other women are probably like, I still don't get it, but I get it. So, and I know it's like you said, it's like being in a survival mode where you're like overstimulated or exhausted or constantly, like you said, constantly going. How does nervous system deregulation show up in everyday life for women and mothers?
Honestly, I think what happened for me is like, you just can't handle things the same in the sense that like I had mentioned, super sensitive, like in the degree to like the smallest problems would just seem like the biggest problems. You just never feel like you can
Mhm.
catch up. You're like, or for me, I was always anticipating like that next like bad thing to happen, and
Mhm.
um yeah, like just the sleepless nights because your mind is constantly working and thinking about like all the things that like you need to do the next day or didn't complete that day. And it's like you're on constantly and you can't shut it off, especially when you're in it because you've already activated all these systems to be in that survival. Like, so yeah, it's tough. Keep like it's very, yeah.
It is.
And like your nervous system holds like a memory too, right? So then even when, like I said, when I was done in that situation, like I could still feel it. And I really had to work on like the regulating of it and take a lot of slow moments and just like learn simple ways to be able to calm myself down in situations that shouldn't have really riled me up in the first place. Like, if I was healthy.
Yeah, and I know we talked a little bit about your study with is it called the vague
The vagus nerve.
nerve or
Vagus.
the
Yeah.
vague nerve? Need my words today. I don't understand. I'm trying. And emotional regulation and energy cleaning. I know we talked about like privately about that, and it was so cool that you shared about like your energy and how you need to protect your peace, and how I know, like I said, we talked it privately, but how do these pieces work like align
Yeah, so
together?
really everything is connected, right? So like your vagus nerve is kind of, they say it's like another brain, right? And so when that's unregulated, it affects like everything, but then also like your energy that you are, because everyone is taking in energy from everybody else and everyone around. Some people are more sensitive than others. For me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm super sensitive. So like I have to really watch, who like how where I am and who I'm around and how long I'm at places and things like that because and I do a lot of
Mm-hmm.
like exercises to release energy, which are super easy. Like sometimes it's just jumping, sometimes it's just going for a walk. Like humming actually is really good
Mm-hmm.
for regulating the nervous system, right? It activates it so you feel more calm. So having these like small
Okay.
tools to like when I'm starting to feel a little like, like it's really simple things that you can just do anywhere really, like, like, and I've just gotten over, like, I don't care, like, if I start humming at when I'm at like a function because I'm starting to feel a little I'm like,
Hmm.
whatever, like, you just like just one, like whatever, right? And
Hmm. Is that nerve attached to like anxiety
I mean,
too?
it can be because it's all connected, right? So, like, when you're feeling in survival mode,
Mhm.
like it is a sense of anxiety because you're always anticipating, like for me, the next bad thing to happen, which, like, the bad thing for
Mhm.
me, like when I was running the hotel, was like a guest was going to be unhappy. Like, there was going to be someone didn't walked out on their bill, like a staff didn't show up, like there was a hole in the ceiling. There was
Mhm.
like, because when running a hotel and managing all these people and the guests, like there was always something. So like I was constantly anticipating, like I never really could fully rest.
Right.
Yeah, so it
Mhm.
definitely was a form of anxiety for sure because you're constantly in this like state, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like sometimes with me on the side note, like I'm starting to learn I get overstimulated a lot, like towards the end of my day. And I'm like, why am I getting this overstimulated? And then I'm like, okay, you got to find something to either balance your anxiety or balance the way like you're being overstimulated. So then I take myself away from, like, say for instance, the computer gets me overstimulated. I take myself away and I'm like, okay, maybe I need to go for a walk. And that's something like you stated earlier, like um some ways that we you just talked about, like walking or
Mhm.
humming. What are some other gentle, realistic ways that we can get our nervous system? But besides, I know you said humming,
Yeah, like
walking,
deep
would be like trying to
breathing, deep
meditate.
breathing helps too, right? And then so that's like a good one. And also like it's really important for people to listen to their bodies. Like you mentioned that like by the end of the day you're already overstimulated and like it's not actually healthy for us to be sitting for that 8 hours and just staring at a computer. Like and I know everyone's workload is different and they feel that they have to, but like I mean in almost every corporate job, you have your like your breaks and stuff. And I really highly recommend people take those breaks, get away from the computer, do some movement. Like even just like waving your arms up and down helps like stimulate and move things around and like getting fresh air, like get out of those fluorescent lights and like get yourself some actual sunlight, you know?
I I try. I try because especially with you, like I said, you have only 2 15-minute breaks a day, and then you have that 30 minutes in the corporate world. I feel like we need to kind of
Oh,
change that. Like make it a little bit, make the breaks a little bit longer. Make it so like overseas in Japan, I think they take naps during their lunchtime. And I'm like, can we have a
yeah.
nap time? Like regulate at
Yeah, it's
time?
definitely not set
Because
up
it's like,
like properly and especially for women like the work life like that Monday to Friday 9 to 5 is set up for a man's nerve system. Like a woman's system works way differently and we're not actually like designed to work like that. Like you'll probably even notice that there's like a like the week where like you are just on fire and you can just boom 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 get everything done. But then because our hormones are changing and our body is changing, we change with like productivity. And
Mhm.
then like some days we're like dragging our ass. And it's like the work world is not set up for the way a woman is designed. And we get ridiculed for like not being able to like perform the same as a man. Well, we're not designed the same as a man. And this workforce is not designed to support us. Like like, and even when we're going through our menstrual cycles, like what our body is going through. I don't know if you've seen those videos where they attach like, like electric zappers to a man and do the different levels of period cramp. They can't handle it
I've
at
been wanting
all.
to
They're
do
like
that.
crunching over and
I've been
screaming. And
wanting to
then
do
we're,
that to
we're
myself.
expected to work just normally through that. Like, come on, guys. Like, let's get
And
on with life and do it properly. We know.
they don't even understand. And it's really crazy because it's like I see, especially on TikTok, I see overseas that they have like I said, they do the naps, or if you're starting your cycle, they do where you get like a couple days to yourself to get your cycle, like get on your cycle and get paid for it. And I'm like, why can't they do that here? Like, why can't they do that here in the States? Like, that would help so many different women on feeling a lot better after that nap that they had. Like, for me, I take the nap during my 30-minute lunch because I'm
Mm.
like, at this
Just
point,
having like
I
exactly
need
like
it.
grace and understanding about how differently we each operate, and even just in the same sense of like even a man can have a nervous breakdown. Like I just, like I feel like there's a lot of room to improve when it comes to like really supporting being human and not just like you are here to
Mhm.
work. Like, like it's very unbalanced
Mhm.
in my opinion. And like even in Europe, they have like where you can actually take a mental health break. You don't have to be sick.
Yeah, that's what
You
I'm
can
talking
just be
about.
like,
Yeah.
wow, I'm getting to that point where I'm not feeling well emotionally and mentally. And you can take that leave and still get paid, and they really support you. Like, like, and it's like, so it's like
Mhm.
it can be done. It is being done. Like they get it. Why are other places in the world following? Like,
Why can't this Yeah, why can't the other exactly, why can't other places get it? And I really wish it'd be really proactive to where we can have that, because we're kind of like fighting for our rights. It's like we're going backwards instead of going
mhm.
forwards. And we shouldn't be going backwards during this time. It's like almost um breaking that generational pattern, so to speak. All these patterns that keep happening back then are now coming back into now. Like, for example, everyone keeps talking about 2026 feels like 2016 all over again. And it really truly does. Like, I said this the other day. I said 2026 really feels like 2016 all over again. Like, it's the weirdest thing. And I was like, are we going through like a port where we're just feeling like 2016 all over again? So, with the generational patterns and like trauma and self
Mhm.
compassion, how do generational patterns, and inconsistent behaviors influence how we parent
So
and cope?
something interesting about like generational like patterns or traumas and stuff is like, so it actually gets like things get passed on along like through the bloodline. So first one like directly. So, let's say I like, with my mom carrying me, whatever she was going through while I was in her belly, I was feeling. So, like if there was any anxiety around money, any anger around my dad not coming home when he said he was, like any kind of stress or anything, like that was being already developed into who I would be like before I was even born. And then so then my mother's mom, whatever she went through carried into her, and unless that is dealt with, that's also getting like passed down into me, right? So like you
Down.
carry it in you, and they're like even like I don't know the scientific terms to it, but there's an actual like piece of matter that gets taken, like that's in your that gets passed down, right? Like it's not just
And like a
energetically, it's like a
like a
physical.
DNA.
Pardon?
It's a
Well,
DNA.
it's like
I
a
don't think it's a
physical
DNA.
particle. Like I didn't look crazy into it, but I remember like learning about it, but just it just so interesting. Like you're literally carrying it around, right? So like, and the
Right.
generational stuff will go from person to person to person until someone decides to look at it and like heal it out
Mm-hmm.
of them, like like and stuff. So I, like I said, because I was so on this journey, can still am, I just want to feel the best I can and understand myself the best I can. Like I looked at things that like my great grandmother had gone through. Like she was in Russia and had to escape because it wasn't safe for the Jews when they left, and they went
All right.
through this very traumatic experience where she had to leave one of her sons behind because he was sick. And so they go to get onto the boat and they all get tested, right? You're on a very small, like, and he had a sniffle and they wouldn't allow him on the boat. And so they had to choose, does she stay and maybe all her children die? Or does she leave with her children, leave the one son and hope that they can get to him before it's too late, And so like she carried that with her, which my was my great great grandmother. So my great grandma was already born, but she witnessed all of that trauma and went through it. So that went into my family line, right? And it actually turned out this relative of mine, this young boy, he died within the year of a broken heart, is what they got a letter from somebody and said, yeah. So like that kind of sorrow and trauma where people are going through that. I mean, they didn't deal with it. They just kept moving on with their lives. No fault of theirs. Like, they didn't know, but that kind of stuff was
Right.
being transferred into my everyone's experience. Right. So, um,
Mhm.
yeah, so I really dug deep to like find out like what everybody went through and what kind of pains, and then did work around releasing the generational pain, like holding the space for my ancestors. And then, it's very, spiritual and energetic, but I strongly believe we carry that stuff, and it's scientifically proven to some degree, like, that.
I've been hearing about it a lot, about generational
Yeah,
patterns
yeah.
and how
And I mean, if you think about it too,
you.
right? Like you
I'm sorry.
learn what you learn from like your parents. So from like 0 to 7, your brain is a sponge and you're just
Mm-hmm.
absorbing, absorbing, absorbing. So each generation is passing on parts of what they learned. And then each generation is doing things a little bit different, but like you're absorbing still like all these lessons or stuff that like might
Mm-hmm.
not be appropriate now, or just limiting or beliefs that weren't back then but are now, or like our parents just didn't know better,
Mm-hmm.
like all the things, right? The Each generation has a little bit more knowledge, but so really I did a lot of research and then understanding how they work and how it's tied to our minds and our hearts and our body and our energetic field, and really did all these different things to release,
Yeah, because it's like it's almost like I understand it, like I can see it, like about the generational pattern between my mom, my grandmother, and then my daughter. I see it all. I see it. And so that's why I keep continuing saying for myself is I want to change that for the general pattern
Mhm.
for her, because I'm like, dang, when I was 7, I went through exactly the same what you went through, what you're going through now. And I'm trying to change her, like, for instance, her self confidence. I rather, she was doing great in first grade. Now she's questioning her self confidence. And I'm like, no, you're not doing that. And then it's weird to see how your life flashes before like the next
Yeah,
generation, and it is a really a different time. So I'm like, I'm trying to create where it's like you have a safe space that she can be created in. She don't have to worry more than what I feel like I
right.
had to when I was
Yeah,
her
and it's
age.
interesting too because
And
there's a lot of it where it's subconscious, where we don't even really realize like we're maybe behaving a certain way or creating certain patterns,
Mhm,
or putting on a belief that may not be, as healthy as others, right? Because like we do, our subconscious mind is
mhm,
subconscious for a reason. Unless you are like mentally trying to be aware and watching and learning and listening, like, I've
mhm,
had like my best friend, like I've asked her for feedback. What am I repeating in our relationship that is unhealthy that I can't see? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because sometimes you can't see it.
mhm,
And so you
mhm,
ask the people like that you trust the most, that you love the most, and like, and we would have these big conversations so that we could be better friends to each other, because we're subconsciously doing something that we like, we can't see yet. So, like self-awareness, and then, leaning on people to help you to be able to, work through these subconscious beliefs is also important. And I mean, addiction, since, like my father is an alcoholic. So like it seemed
mhm,
so normal, right? For us to be drinking so young.
mhm,
And like, it was like, whatever, like my dad does it. Like he would, like he'd pick us up and then
mhm,
just start drinking in the car down a back lane. So these are the things that I saw. And then, you kind of are like, I don't know, but you're a child. So you only know what you know, right?
right.
And then he let us party in his house when I became a teenager. And so it was also well, he's giving us a safe space. And it was like, okay, well, I guess this is okay then. Like, like dad's letting us do it. And I think back, I'm like, I was 12, like I was 13. Like I have a 14 or a 15-year-old niece.
Mhm.
And I'm like, do not drink, do not do drugs. Like I think that's just she's such a
Mhm.
baby still. And it's just wild to me.
Yeah, and it's like you still have so much to learn, so
Well,
much to
yeah, and I mean,
grow,
your
you know?
brain isn't even fully developed till you're 25. So, like, the amount of altering that I did that in those young years
Mhm.
to my mind, like, I mean, I feel very healthy and intelligent and aware and everything. So I didn't do too much damage, but it happens to people where they get locked into it too young, and it really can change their brain chemistry for the worse, right? Like,
Mhm. Yeah, it does, and it's like you have to for me, I feel like you have to pick and choose, like, on the other end, if, like, when you're seeing somebody go through an addiction, it's like you have to pick and choose, like, do you choose
mhm,
yourself and go through the emotions with the person that has the addiction and say, "I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna take care of you," or do you go through where you're just like, enough is enough. I have to separate myself from you because you have this addiction.
mhm.
I love you, but I have to love you from a distance. And I think that's really hard from people on the other end of the person that has the addiction because it's like you want to be there for them. You want to be able to say, you can do this, you can face this, and there's so much good that can turn out from this. But until they learn that they want the help from
Mhm.
themselves, it's like, what do you do? It's like you're pretty much
I
at
Well, I
a
think it
tied
also
end,
depends on
you
like the
know?
person and your relationship with them. Like for me, my dad tried to talk to me about it when I first started doing cocaine, and I just laughed at him and I was like,
Mhm.
you show me rehab works and then we'll talk, because he had been in and out of like alcohol. Like, like I was just like, whatever. And I didn't think I had a problem until I tried to stop,
Mhm.
because I was a very high functioning addict. Like I was taking like courses, like college courses. I had a job full time. I opened up a business during this time, like, so until
Mhm.
I noticed that my brain was like kind of felt a little fried, and then also that I was doing it alone because I didn't like the way I felt inside when I was alone. Like it wasn't just like, that's when I was like, oh my God, okay, like you gotta freaking wake up here, girl. Right. So I made the decision on my own. But I know it's not that easy. Like my brother is an alcoholic as well, and he did rehab. He actually did really well during it because I mean, you're in a group, you don't have
Mhm.
access to alcohol, you're like going to therapy every day. It was when he got out, which was the problem, because then he just goes back to his same kind of lifestyle. And I don't know how it is in the States, but like there, it's just like this program's not set up to really help people afterwards. Like they tell you to go to meetings once a week or twice a
Mhm.
week, but it's just like they need more than that. 1 month in rehab versus like a 20-year addiction, like that, there's no, like, that does not
Mhm.
make sense. Like it just was like, like, and I mean, they haven't done any upgrades on AA for freaking forever. And it's like, but so with my brother, I give him like a tough love, like, like, but there,
Mhm.
there's been other friends where I literally couldn't be there for them anymore because they were just destroying their lives and like turned into like a different person. And
Mhm.
they as much as I would try to help, it was like there's nothing I could do. And I've said to them, when you are ready, I will be here to support you. But like that, we're on such different paths now. You know what I mean? I think it really depends on the person, the situation, like how you handle it, right? Like with my brother, I still talk to him lots, and whenever he starts to kind of like say, "Oh, I need to do this," and I'm like, "Just fucking do it then. Like, stop talking, take action." Like,
And take
yeah.
yeah, because it's like for me, it's hard. It's like you want to love that person so much to just be like, you got this, you can do this, you're very strong will. I see what you see. I see that you're very strong will. But it's like if you can't do it for yourself,
Mhm.
then I can't hold your
No.
hand. You're
But
grown
I
at
do
this point.
believe
You know?
in the power of believing in someone, right? So when somebody
Mhm.
hears that somebody else believes in them, like it really it it helps them. And you might have to say it 100 times before they believe in themselves, but like The only reason I had to separate me from my friend was because like of just how dark her world was getting and how she was like treating me and stuff like that. But I was like, I always was like, you can do this. Like, like, I really, really strongly believe that having someone in like with my brother, right? Like we just have
In your
boundaries. I'm like,
corner.
you're not allowed to call me when you're drunk. And if he does call, I just hang up and that's it. Like, like because I don't want to desert him completely. I want him to know he still has my support and that I know he's strong. And just like when I went through it, like I had a friend, my best friend, like I was a hard person to be around when I was like going through the change because 16 years I had been feeding myself cocaine. So then your body stops developing or producing, sorry, dopamine because you're getting it like synthetically. So, and then my
Mm-hmm.
neuropaths, like we're all reforming because I was also trying to reprogram my mind into the fact that like I'm living this new life, I'm this new version, I can do it. And I was a mess. Like I was so hard to be around. And like I thank her still to this day for how much she stuck by me because I could feel that I was um yeah like I was a wreck, but she knew that I was going through something and not everybody would have been able to stand
Mm-hmm.
by me, and you really just need that one person. I mean, yes, I had my mother, but I was living with this friend at the time, so got that like extra support. And like it really 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 makes a difference to have someone in your corner
Mm-hmm.
that knows that you're literally transforming or like transmuting into a new person after after taking away the substance that has been you for so long and all the changes that happen
Mm-hmm.
within. And also during that time I realized how extra sensitive I was to like the energies of the world, and I was like, what is this place? Like I'm just like, so yeah, like, being high or hungover or like sketched out for so many years, like I knew I felt like I kind of like sometimes, but it was masked because I wasn't clear, right? And so yeah, definitely having someone is important. And I mean that can even look like a sponsor. Sponsors are helpful. So I do believe in
I like
that.
I like that you shared that it's good to have somebody in your corner, because if anybody is listening to this and they are going through something like this, whether it's a sexual addiction or an alcoholic addiction or just any type of addiction, to know that you have somebody in your corner is really good to have. And so I know this conversation is going so good, but it's such a reminder that healing isn't about fixing ourselves, and it's about meeting ourselves with compassion. So, Mandy, what I want you to do for me is, can you give me one message or reminder you want listeners to carry with after today's episode?
Yeah, I want people to understand that, no matter where they are in their life or how they're, it doesn't have to be that they're going through an addiction, but there is a way to live like a more, like you said, aligned life, a more connected life, and just understanding a little bit more about how we operate, and having these really easy, simple tools like some that I mentioned, can be very, very
Hmm.
beneficial to helping people just feel better in life, and I think it's important that people understand, one day at a time, small little things. But if you're feeling like stuck, like you're not alone, and then you can get through it. You can feel better. I mean, I was an addict for 16 years, only like recovered for 6. So for a majority of my life, plus the years before, and I am like
Hmm.
I'm like, I don't even recognize that version of me anymore. So I just want people to know that change is very, very possible, just one day at a time.
I like that message, and thank you for leaving that on this podcast this today. Where can listeners connect with you and learn more about your work?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram at Mandy Alexis Motivation, or just Facebook is Mandy Alexis. And yeah, I'm actually going to be launching something February 14th. It's going to be the journey inward. So it's going to be being able to learn and understand how we operate on all the different levels, tools, and reference points, and a journal book So if anyone's interested, they can reach out. And honestly, oh my God, I can't talk. Honestly, all of these things that I've learned through all these years of stuff, everything is just connected. And I think it's beneficial that us humans know more about how we work, So
That is definitely true. Well, guys, as I always say, Mandy, thank you so much for your honesty, your vulnerability, and for holding a space so beautifully for today's episode. To our listeners, if this episode resonates with you, please share it with someone who may need it. Leave a review, and definitely, as a reminder, healing is not linear. And you are allowed to take one step at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time. Until next time, take a breath, give yourself some grace, and remember you are human and you're more than enough. Until next time, Mandy, thank you for being on the Balanced Boss Mom podcast. Again, everybody, like, comment, subscribe what you think about this podcast today. And again, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest
okay,
of your
bye.
day.
Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome.